Greetings and hello everybody! Adnan here for the One4U Show at the Dashing Adnan on Twitter, and I am here with someone that I respect, I admire, that's inspired me, inspired the show. You may have seen him sometime over the last 20 years covering video games and entertainment on both the internet and on television in both the United States and Canada, but you probably don't want to hear from me. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Victor Lucas of EP Daily and Reviews on the Run. Victor, welcome to the show!
Hello, Adnan. How you doing? And hello to all of your viewers and all of your friends that help put this thing together. It's awesome to be here, man.
Dude, like I couldn't do it. I couldn't do half this stuff without like Graham, who you met on the show, and then like everyone for their support, and then you for being gracious enough to be here. So that's also just a fantastic thing. So thank you for being here, number one.
It's a great story for how we got connected, and I think you should let people know how that happened.
So on the side, you know, because I still have a normal job, I also like Uber drive for like extra money on the side. I met an associate. Should we say his name?
Sure.
Yeah, is Alex Garden, who used to be the president over at Naughty Dog, right? It was Naughty Dog.
No, Relic.
Relic, because he did Total War.
No, he's got a really fantastic career in the video game industry. He worked at Electronic Arts under Don Matrick for a long time, and then he founded Relic. And Homeworld was his first
Homeworld, because we had a discussion about that in the car. I forgot, it was like a month ago now at this point.
Yeah.
But I remember he did all that. So
he did Impossible Creatures, and then Relic has gone on to become an incredible RTS company, and they're based out of Vancouver, where I'm based, and yeah, they do Company Heroes, which I think is their big.
That's the one. I confused that one with Total War. But yeah, I ran into him. When I drive, I typically play video game music in my car, so it's like stuff that the customers can basically feel, at least if they don't know it, it's just neutral music. Yeah. And so he recognized it. We got on this huge conversation, and then we talked about like not just like Victor. Like I found out he knew Victor Lucas and like Tom Russo and a bunch of the other like writers and journalists in the game space. Nice. And he put me in contact with Victor Lucas. We got our
which is me,
which is you. That is you. Oh my God. And all of a sudden now I'm here talking to someone I've watched for so long. I mean,
that's awesome.
And I was gonna tell you, like just an interesting thing, like of like when I did start watching you, just like some of the influence you had on me. I brought a copy of Beyond Good and Evil.
Nice.
For the GameCube. The only reason I ever bought this game was when I watched you guys review it, and you gave it a 9.5, Tommy gave it a 10, and this has since become my favorite video game of all time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like you guys helped influence a lot of my adolescent gaming purchases, and I was satisfied with 99% of them, I would say.
Dude, that's so cool. That was the job, and is the job, you know? I mean, and it's unbelievably gratifying to meet people that watch but that are influenced in a direction to kind of try new things, or what I hear now, which is just blowing my mind, is a lot of people that have, because you never know how long this stuff lasts, right? But we've had a great run with this thing, and so now people have kind of grown up with Electric Playground and Reviews on the Run. I hear from developers that work in the games industry because we kind of introduced it to them, and that is unbelievably humbling, you know?
I know, because you've been at it, what, 20 plus? It's 20 plus years, 20 years of celebrating everything cool, correct?
Yeah, I came up with the concept in December '94, and so, we got online in '95, and then the show started in '97. So I think, I guess in December of this year, next month, it's 21 years.
Gee.
My math is correct.
Congratulations, number one.
Thanks.
That's absolutely fantastic. I was going to say, like, since you've been around and you have all this video documentation that you've done for the last 20 years, how interesting has it been for you to watch the industry change from that over the course of that last 20 years, from like going to cartridges to CDs to digital, and then not just that, but from a more personal level, watching Greedy and your production company change for that 20 years as well?
Well, that's the beautiful thing about the business, is that it is always changing. It is always evolutionary. It is, and revolutionary. It's never boring, and I love it passionately. I mean, last night I was up too late playing the latest Call of Duty, and everybody can slag that off, but it's a blast of a game. And maybe that's not the trailblazing, product, but it it still hooks me, and that's what kind of blows me away, is that there's so many things along this road that I just passionately love and I get excited about. I love the new releases and I love the new discussions. I really care about the video game industry. I really care,
and that shows. That really does show.
well, I want it to be perceived in a positive way, and I want developers to be held to higher esteem, and the work that they create to be recognized as culturally impactful, not just products. And I think that the business, I mean, that's something that I've kind of challenged the industry with our programming right from the beginning, and a lot of the early meetings that I had, is the industry doesn't really do enough in that direction itself. They are a quarter-based industry. They're a packaged goods industry. Historically, it's changing, and it's really just been about numbers and products and investments and big profits on these things. All of that stuff is how a business is run. But I feel like we still have a road to go to kind of make this stuff recognized as art and recognized as incredibly powerful narrative and incredibly impactful to great chunks of the population out there. And I think those are battles that movies and TV shows and music, albums and things like that and books don't have to fight.
Right.
Video games have a lot still to kind of overcome in the general space. And slowly but surely, as generations are growing up in worlds where there has always been video games, and there are decisions with generations of people that just stay with games along the way, that's going to change. But that's been a common sort of challenge for me as a television producer, is to put this stuff out there in a way that's going to be accessible to everybody, and to keep kind of lifting it up, and to keep kind of talking about this.
And it shows that it's more than a job for you too, because you show so much passion. Every time you talk about anything, there's heart behind your words, because there's heart behind the people who put their money, their blood, their sweat, their tears into the work that they do. And that's why, like, a lot of people like to criticize you that you're too easy on games.
We're going to talk about High Heat Baseball 2003.
This game gets a 0.
I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10.
Way too high.
It's not necessarily that you're too easy on games. I do the same thing, where you have to understand that everything has some form of merit. Nobody sets out to make a bad product, and you, like me, look for the things that are the things in some products that had merit, that were clearly made for people's enjoyment, even if they didn't pan out that way.
Yeah, it's not a binary experience.
Right.
It's not like this is shit, this is great. It's just not like that. There are lots of different ways into these things. There's tons of games that I can cite, and lots of other people can cite, where maybe there is an aversion or a distaste at the beginning, and then it slowly, almost like Stockholm syndrome, like ends up entrancing you, and you get hooked by the end. And there's a lot of value even in the terrible games, just as an education tool,
Right.
just to kind of see the missteps and the wrong steps. But nobody sets out to make garbage, And I think that I think what happened is there are quite rightly a lot of consumers out there that have felt burned by some choices, I don't think microtransactions have been elegantly instituted across every game out there. I don't think that DLC packages have been perfect all the way along.
Right.
There's still a lot of learning and a lot of challenging of the industry that needs to continue. So yes, but in addition to that, there's been this great sort of public platform of the internet and YouTube, and everybody has a website and stuff and a blog to be able to just voice their opinions. And I think a lot of frustration has come out. I think Gamergate was all about that as well. I think that there is some justification in some of that anger, for sure, but it's too basic to just to just create this polarizing kind of portrait of it sucks and everybody's greedy and nobody gives a crap, they just want their money, And
it's just a hard thing to change the general public's opinion from everything being plain black or white, because not everybody looks at things at shades of gray like you or I do, you know? And that's it's just an obstacle that the industry has to face, you know, as time goes on too, you know?
well, the thing that sort of saddens me though is the frustration felt at the developer level, and you know, we read about stories like this all the time where people just get out, you know, they just can't deal with the hate and the vitriol, and you know, I've had people come up to me over the years too, asking why aren't we talking about some really heavy topics in video games, and why aren't we going into some of the darker stories, the misogyny, and yeah, all of that stuff is interesting, and I think there's tons of merit in that storytelling. But I felt that the responsibility of EP and EP Daily and Reviews on the Run really was to kind of just lift the conversation up, to make it palatable to as many people as possible, and to sort of introduce this world on a consistent level to people that are busy and don't have time to go through all of the nitty-gritty details of the specifics in the video game industry. Now, all of that stuff is interesting, and just reading about Amy Pascal and the Gamergate movie with Zoe Quinn's book being optioned to be a film, and Scarlett Johansson is up possibly to play Zoe Quinn. That kind of stuff is fascinating, and I can't wait for things like that to happen. That sort of path of discourse is only going to make our industry better. But I didn't really feel that our daily TV show that was about the business in general was the right platform to go that dark. Now, we've had some heavy things along the way, and we've been bluntly honest all the way with our reviews, sometimes to the effect of sponsors pulling out, you know, and getting pissed off at us, and then having to backpedal and apologize later because they, you know, all we do is right out there for people to see. I mean, the thing that I made patently clear from the beginning is that it had to be inclusive, had to be about every aspect of the business, and it had to be honest and genuine, and it had to be about us. And I wrote in the first contracts, because we were sponsored right from the very beginning, and we had great partners right from the very beginning, that the reviews were the opinions of Tommy Tallarico and myself, and they had no jurisdiction within the confines of this relationship. They were 100% our opinion, and they were not a part of any contractual obligation at all. And people signed it readily, you know. And actually, it was empowering, because some of my first conversations were with really, you know, because we like to slag on the games biz for not going far enough, or we have expectations about stuff, or you know, we get frustrated or whatever. This King deal is very frustrating to me.
Oh, the huge acquisition of King Software?
For sure. But with all of that stuff happening, there are people on the inside that are so resolutely into this forever and passionate as, you know, crazy, you know, with real drive and real vigor, and they want to make this thing perfect and better, and they're working their butts off. And I've had many conversations with people like that over the years, but one of my first ones was with a VP over at EA Canada, because I was telling them about the show, and I said, look, we're going to be very honest with our reviews on television. One of my influences was Siskel and Ebert, and they didn't hold any punches. You know, the most interesting part of watching that show was the honest discourse between those two, and one of them would have an agreement, you know, a positive opinion, one of them would have a negative opinion. It was always fun to watch, but it was always honest. And I said, that's exactly the theme that we're going here with this show, that conversation and that honesty. And I said, you know, we might not like every one of your games. And he said, I want that to happen. I want you to be blunt and straight up honest with me.
And also that your opinions could contradict from that of the general public too, like, you know?
Absolutely.
It's that, you know, this isn't 100% like, oh, Stone Cold, this is what you should do. It's like, no, this is, you can do what you want. This is just our opinion if you want it.
And I got to tell you, man, like, that's been the general consensus from the games industry all the way along. We wouldn't have this 20-year, you know, career on television or whatever, making this content, if we didn't have that kind of that respect and that trust in the way that we do it. But I think underlying all of that is definitely a real fan's kind of viewpoint, with stories that can appeal to anybody. And that's one of the greatest compliments I've had about EP along the years, over the years, is that especially when we went daily and we had to kind of move from just games to other types of content as well. That really was scary to me because I didn't know if our established viewers would stick with it. But it was also getting into new territory that, you know, I hoped would appeal to more people.
Well, it's a good thing. It's a good thing that you put all the stuff up on your website, because that's how I've been able to follow you. Because I don't believe you guys are on where I am anymore.
No, well, we're on Hulu.
You're on Hulu. Okay, I didn't know that, but I don't have Hulu, but I follow you guys on your site, and I'm like, because I was really, whenever I stopped, when you guys were off the air, at least where I was kind of bummed, because I would always watch you guys when you were on. So, and then at some point when you know, as times changed and you guys got all this stuff online, and
It's so frustrating, man. That the TV model is so expensive, and there's so many established kind of preset notions about how you make television, and you know, there's carrier fees, and it's just so damn expensive to make a television show, or to make television programming, that there's such a fear around building content. You know, it shocks me that we're the only TV show of its kind in North America.
Right.
Like it just shocks me.
And you're also the first. There have been those have come and gone too.
Yeah, and I thought that when we launched that we would be copied, and we were. And that people would start to sort of filter out this category, and there would be, you know, more and more types of discussion and content around this. And that has happened to a degree on television, like on Fallon's show. He started to put some more video game stuff on there, and he's not doing it so much on the Tonight Show, which is
Conan does it a little bit too.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, Conan's been doing that. I like all of that stuff.
It's not where you were expecting it to be, because you thought that it would increase, and it did, but not to the degree you thought it might have on television, at least.
Yeah, on television, and certainly it's been happening on the web, but of course nobody's got the budgets of television programming to go out and do all the field reporting and visit all the studios and all the stuff that is kind of partial or part of our television show, you know. And I've relished being able to be there, but it surprised me that we would be the only one at this point, because we talk about the coolest stuff in the world. Like the greatest art that human beings make all the time is what we talk about. So the stuff that we cut to in our TV show is the most expensive, most beautiful artwork that humanity creates right now. You know, that's our footage, and it makes the show look incredible. And the people that we talk to are so inspirational because they're working at the highest level, you know, like not this year, but the year before we were at Comic-Con, and we had all of the Avengers on the line at Comic-Con, and we talked to all of them. It just hit me. Like, we just talked to the biggest movie stars in the world for our TV show that started as, you know, out of my apartment in Vancouver, and it was about video games, and we just talked to the biggest movie stars in the world, and they all talked to us, and they were all happy with us, and you know, it blows me away that more respect isn't given in this direction, you know, because I'll tell you, one of my inspirations was Entertainment Tonight. I used to love that when I was a kid. It used to be a fantastic show about the industry. It used to take us behind the scenes and take us to sets and show us how props were made and models were made and special effects, and actors would talk about their craft. Now it's just fucking Kardashian. I'm sorry if I'm
No. Go ahead and fucking swear. It's fine.
All right. Now it's just Kardashian bullshit and you know, drug addicts and falling out of nightclubs, and you know, it's just so tawdry and disgusting and lame. What a lame use of a platform, you know. And I know people over there, they're good people, and I know that they're frustrated with what they have to do, and nobody wants to talk about this garbage. It's just that people consume it, you know, and there's this cycle of being fed that crap at supermarket stores and then being able to go home and watch all of that stuff. We've got to move away from it. And I thought that people would, but they haven't.
Well, they still will. They still could. You know, we still have time. You know, we still got time. I was gonna say, in regards to, so on the industry section, what about for you for Greedy growing? Because you know, it was just like you said. I know I listened to recently. It was you and your wife's parents' house were doing it at first, right? Before you had moved up and like actually got in the studio, and then
what happened is we had an apartment together, my wife and I was you know, in my 20s I was an actor and a waiter, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life, and I came up with the idea for the show, and we needed to kind of have a place where I could bring people together to work on the site, because this was 95, and the internet was starting to kind of really happen, and we thought we should have an internet presence where we can direct people to that will help to promote what we're doing with video. And we had video on our website in 95. Which
wow. So you had the dial-up modem speed, so it'd take like an hour to download
they were tiny little postage stamp quick
like 30 seconds you going, so let's go to the next transition.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, so we moved out of the apartment that we were in, and then we started to have, we had a group of, I had this real idyllic kind of idea of having a bunch of friends, work on this all together. And it's way more complicated than that. Like when you start to actually get traction and move, forward, it is about friends and building friendships and having relationships, but there is a responsibility kind of perspective to it, and it's not always easy. People always come to me about building, ideas and stuff, and creating a concept for something and running a company that creates that concept are two very different things. Running a company is about, trying to provide security to your employees and giving them as much money as you can so that they're happy, and that's very stressful. And that has been the one thing that I've kind of learned over my 21 years is the deep responsibilities there are the hardest part, And we had to downsize this year. We don't do 2 daily TV shows. So
right, you're down to 1, but you're still producing 2.5 hours worth of content every week, though.
We're cranking, and but in the last few years we were up to 500, 600 episodes of TV a year, probably producing more content out of Canada independently than anybody in our country, and so we had a pretty sizable staff. We're much smaller right now, and it feels a lot more sane for sure. I miss a lot of people, but yeah, now I've had the perspective of. And I had it a little bit because we had to reinvent, I didn't know if I was going to get a season 3, and then I didn't know if I was going to get a season 8, and so we've had a lot. I mean, when you survive, plus I had all of these internet kind of threads that I was tugging on along the way, like we were going to partner with people that might, go the next level in terms of video streaming and stuff like that, and then they got swallowed up. Or they went out of business. Saw a lot of that along the way. But we just kind of put our heads down, and this was definitely my philosophy. It was like, we produce content with whatever budget we have. So some years we just produced with very, very little money, very little travel, but we just put our heart and soul into whatever we could do, and we delivered on content,
Right.
And so it hasn't been grow, explosive growth.
It's been a steady growth to where you are today, but then there.
Yeah, it's been a lot of growth and a lot of learning and some shrinking.
Right.
But mostly it's been about adapting. But the one philosophy that I've always had is don't overspend and don't overthink on the production of everything. I see a lot of other outlets sometimes. They get some budget for shooting video or producing television type content or whatever, and they go out with huge crews, and they and that's what costs the money, is like hiring a bunch of stringers and a bunch of people to and there's no offense that there's some excellent work that gets made out of that stuff, but I think one of the reasons why we've had longevity is we've been a small team, resourceful, multifaceted. We're not departmentalized. I don't believe in the idea of this is the only job that you can do, and that's the only job you will ever do. We've had a lot of people take on lots of different responsibilities and learned. And consequently, when people have left the company, whether we've had to let some people go or whether they've decided to go in different directions, all of those people have had unbelievable skill sets for whatever other jobs they have or other employers they have. And that's been unbelievably satisfying too, because by necessity, as an independent producer, I would give people a lot of trust and responsibility, but they got their hands on a lot of the work and they got to deliver something really phenomenal at the end of the day.
Right.
out of their own passions as well.
Man, that's pretty fantastic. That's like, that give me chills. I thought you were gonna say like the most important thing to remember with the 3Ds, right? Don't be a dick. Don't hang around with dicks. Don't dick around. I just watched your TED Talk. That's another.
Oh, thanks, man.
We'll put a link. We'll put a thing right here, somewhere. Or here. One of these two will have the link to the TED Talk.
Awesome.
Yeah, watch that. It's a really great thing that Vic did a few years ago. He gave a great speech. Check out the link for that. I was gonna ask, what has been your favorite thing that you've ever done? And I know it's gonna be hard. You have 20 years to but what was like the coolest thing that you probably you got to experience over the last 20 years?
Man, that's impossible.
I know. I'm sorry. I was like, I just want to know. Man, okay. 1, 2 things, 3.
Well, I mean, I love Stan Lee. I love Stan Lee, and we put him on the show, and he was just as gracious as you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely aware of his value to pop culture, and so I think what happens, no matter who interviews him, and you see him a lot now because there are more cameras with YouTube and all that stuff, he gives that same level of love and time to whatever person he connects with.
Right.
But it was really profoundly special for us because we met him, we put him into season 6, I think, of EP, and Tommy's the biggest Spider-Man.
Oh, yes. Yes, he is.
He wore a Spider-Man costume, and we did a fake kind of Spidey Sense kind of CG thing, and then Stan Lee popped in and he did the whole thing, and we sent him the footage, and then he sent a Christmas card that year to our company with everybody's name in there, and it was a 70s retro classic Spider-Man card, thanking everybody and wishing all of us a very Merry Christmas. And he follows me on Twitter, which blows me away.
That's cool.
He's my hero, like he's just a guy that didn't always know what he was doing was groundbreaking and trailblazing, but he believed in it and he went through the ringer with it, and he created, arguably the most, I don't know if they're most important or some of the most beloved cultural artifacts of the 20th century, and they are going to endure forever. And I just feel, here's what, one of the other things that we did is he turned 90 a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And the power of our platform allowed us, and I think we were alone on Earth, to create 2 half-hour specials about him and celebrating his 90th birthday and saying this guy is amazing, and we had people from all over the creative communities of games and comics and TV or whatever saying happy birthday Stan and thank you Stan, and then we did a reviews thing where we talked about our favorite Stan Lee crafted or stuff,
anything
ultimately part of his imagination that we enjoyed. We put that all together. And I heard from his people that they really were appreciative of that. But that kind of stuff kind of boils my blood because the Kardashians will take all of the goddamn time.
Those bitches.
Yeah, and they really mean nothing culturally to the world, really, and I don't mean to harp on them, but
they won't be remembered really for the same reason Stan Lee will be. Stan Lee is still enduring the test of time for 60, 70 years now.
Yeah.
And the Kardashians, what are they going to leave in like 50 years? Oh, yeah, there was that show with the dumb...
Yeah, I think there
will be more shame attached.
Yeah.
To kind of obsession with that stuff. And with Stan Lee, I think it will be more shame that we didn't pay more attention. He's like a living Walt Disney, and
wow,
he is the closest to that we have on Earth. And he just Miyazaki is another guy, and certainly George Lucas. It drives me so crazy to see people put anti-George Lucas bullshit out there when maybe the prequel trilogy was not great, and maybe a lot of the stuff that he hasn't been able to create movie-wise has not been as wonderful as that first trilogy was, but he delivered so much more than just those movies, in so many ways, and that drives me crazy to see that not get acknowledged a little bit more. But speaking of Lucas, though, I think one of my favorite days shooting was when I was directing the Keeley's Battlefront segment, the Star Wars Battlefront for the first one.
Okay.
We shot it around the in the hills around San Rafael, where LucasArts used to be based. And we had the 501st, the stormtroopers and all that stuff. They dressed up in all of these elaborate costumes. And it took me a while to convince LucasArts to go with us on this, to go with me on this. They wanted to just do a typical boardroom interview where, we'd have the game on television. But I said, dude, people will not remember that.
Right.
This is what people remember. And we shot this huge elaborate sequence, and our art director, Tavis Dunn, crafted using assets that Lucas provided. We had that, walker come through the segment, speeder bike whip through the segment, and they're hiding and ducking under things. And so I was directing the multicam on that.
Oh, is that the one? No, I'm thinking. I'm thinking the one where you and Tommy came in with the lightsabers and you guys took out a bunch of stormtroopers. That's something totally different. I'm thinking something.
That was we did a lot of Star Wars stuff, and Lucas was awesome all the way. Like our first meeting with them, our first time going to visit LucasArts, they acknowledged that we were doing something different, and they gave us a lot of free reign to craft these crazy CG things, and always had a blast with that. That's one of my regrets with going daily, is that we don't have as much time.
Because you have to move from one thing to the other so quickly. Yeah.
So we can't really, it took 3 weeks to really craft that. It took a full day of shooting stuff and organizing all that. It took lots of pre-production time, and then it takes a day to shoot, and then weeks of production, and then we add voiceover, and it's like we craft a little tiny movie, and we used to be able to schedule that kind of stuff out, but it's a lot trickier with the resources that we have now.
Yeah. It's a question that you answered before, like a long time ago. I looked at some old G4 stuff. It's and at the time I always asked, if there was a game or two that you have had the time to look back in retrospect, if you would change the score of, which ones would it be? What you answered before was SSX3. You would bump that up because you gave it a 7.5, and you would bump it up to either an 8.5 or a 9. So what now in 2015 would you look back in the rear and say, okay, that game is either better or worse than I remember?
I got to tell you, we just did a versus with Lego Dimensions and Disney Infinity and Skylanders, and we gave them all great scores because they're all fantastic games. But the more I play Lego Dimensions, the more I'm just absolutely blown away.
Yeah, because you've been buying all the pieces. You've been tweeting. You're like, I don't even know what Ninjago is, but I'm gonna buy it. That's what you did.
It's absolute. That's what's been going on. I mean, I play it with my daughter, and maybe that's what the thing is. But just her awe and her wonder and her, joining me to build these pieces and looking at the instructions and build them. This first kick might not be perfect, but if they stick with it, if the sales are good, it is amazing. I mean, it's really that idea, because you're building the figures, you're building you're Legoing still. You're still doing that. So the imagination.
If Scott was here, he would hate this conversation right now.
It's not for everybody, for sure. But I think it's amazing that this Toys to Life thing, we were talking about Amiibo before we started.
Yes.
There's something there, and I think part of it is that we're moving away from the physical. We're moving away from, buying discs and buying things that have instruction books and buying a sort of a collectible element that will go on our shelf. So the thing that will supplant that, I think, will be these figures, and there's nothing stopping these game companies from crafting really high, detailed, elaborate, hot toys quality figures that go with mature games, and I think that's, if these things keep growing and the sector keeps, maturing and people get better at this stuff, that toy game combination could be very powerful.
It could be enduring. And if you want to check out our Amiibo episode, shameless plug right here. Click right there. All right. Yeah. What is it that you are excited for the rest of the year to both play, to see, or just not even just the rest of the year, even what's coming up that you're really stoked for? Just in my example, I can't wait for Battlefront, and I know you can't, but I can't wait for Street Fighter V and Mirror's Edge Catalyst personally next year. So what about yourself? What is it you're really hitting and just jonesing for to come out now?
Well, speaking of Jones, it's the Indiana Jones-like Uncharted 4, I think, is my obsession. That's the thing I'm most excited about. Zelda on the Wii U, I really want to see what Nintendo's got up their sleeve with not only that, but with the NX. I predict that we'll probably be playing Zelda's Wii U on the NX. In fact, I predict that we'll probably be playing be playing everything that's been produced for the Wii U on the NX.
That would be the smart thing, because the very first episode I ever did of the show was on backwards compatibility, and I thought that was a big mistake with the PS4 and the Xbox One, that they didn't have it initially, and I'm glad to see the Xbox One has it fully. The PS4 has the PlayStation Now thing, which I don't think is hitting as well as they might have thought. But I think that if Nintendo, it's what you've talked about too, if Nintendo does a thing because they have such a rich back catalog, especially like with the Wii U that maybe didn't get as much play, the NX should have some of the Wii U stuff on there for sure.
When this goes to subscription, it's a whole new industry. We're moving towards that.
It'll be different for sure.
Towards that, and I think that Nintendo, out of all of the companies, has had the greatest respect for their back catalog and the greatest ability to re-energize sales on that back catalog. If and when they go subscription, it's going to be such a sea change, just like Netflix, you know. And Nintendo, I think, has maybe, especially if they get the back catalog rights to all of the third-party stuff that's been available for all of the previous platforms, the rights to be able to make that an all-you-can-eat subscription model. That's going to be enormous. And then the next evolutionary step, because I think everybody will follow with that. That's what PlayStation is doing with PlayStation Now, is they're testing the water, they're testing the bandwidth, they're checking out it's a test. What's it going to cost? How's it going to work?
Right, of course.
But the future is clearly that kind of direction, you know.
Because the majority of the time, the second kick at it is usually better than the first because you've learned things from your first kick at it.
And I think that Steam will probably go in that direction in the not-too-distant future. And I think that inevitably, I think that we will probably see something like Ready Player One, where you can just log into whatever you want to play and get it instantly. And you're paying, your service fees, and you've got access to all of that kind of content and media. It's going to be crazy. I'm very excited. I know I dog it all the time on the shows, but I'm very excited about having my own VR headsets and testing these things out.
You didn't want to mess up your beautiful hair, I think is what you said. It was something like that.
Drive it.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll be, I don't know if I think this is the image that I want for, oh my God, it's amazing. I wish you could see this. Oh, it's incredible. I don't know if that's great TV. You tell me. Is that good?
It's great TV to watch, I would say, because that was entertaining as hell right now, what you just did. So, yeah, you could just do reviews on you EP Daily just like that, the whole headset. Hey, guys, Vic here. Where's the camera?
I'm thinking that we should be working on little Iron Man cameras to go right by our eyes so that we could do a lot of these things. So I've given this game an 8 No, it's going to be exciting next year. I think a lot of technology is going to come to fruition that's been hyped and debated and discussed. And I think that all of the platforms have had some really, really strong stuff this year, and I think it's not as 2015 compared to 2014 is like there's a bounty. There's lots of great stuff this year. 2014 sucked. I mean, it was a weak year for games. There just wasn't enough AAA, and there was a lot more AAA this year. There's been a lot more consistent stuff to be excited about, but I still feel that 2016. The engines have revved, and everybody's got these technologies and these platforms and these architectures under their belt. I think that Nintendo is once again smartly not going to try to, outpace everybody with tech specs that are going to be so hard that they can't reach that sort of level. So I think the NX is going to have a really good shot, and their whole mobile transition stuff too. Their whole integrated kind of community stuff that they're going to have that will work across every way that they can reach us is going to be huge for Nintendo as well. Sony had some awesome stuff at that PlayStation Gamer Week, that sort of highlights what's coming up next year. I can't wait for the Detroit game from the Quantic Dream guys.
Right. I just heard about that. I'm like, that's a strange name. Like, just call it. Like, yeah, I was a big fan of Heavy Rain. I didn't really go through a lot of Beyond Two Souls. It didn't connect with me as much as Heavy Rain did. Just I don't know if you've gotten a chance to play it because you weren't the one reviewing it. I just wanted to suggest to you, if you can get around to Life is Strange, That game.
Yeah, I want to play that.
Absolutely.
That game is amazing. And then Jose and Sophia were reviewing it on the show, and I checked it out, and I'm like, this game it's my personal pick for Game of the Year right now. If I was to give a Rocket and Ray Gun, I would give it to Life is Strange.
Well, that's probably going to appear in our Rocket and Ray Guns. That's something that I am looking forward to.
Can I throw in an extra vote for Life is Strange? Can I?
We're doing the Rocket and Ray
Live.
Guns in front of people. Yeah, for the first time, which I'm really excited about. So most of us will be there. I'm trying to get everybody there, but most of us will be there in Toronto the week of the Canadian Video Game Awards, the week in that same weekend at FanFest and CVAs. So we will also have the chance to kind of go out for dinner and celebrate the year and
That's fantastic.
connect a bit, which is going to be a lot of fun.
That's absolutely fantastic. That's just another bit of progression that you guys will be able to do your like Game of the Year in front of people, and I think that's wonderful. So Vic, I wanted to ask you, if you were to score your experience on the One4U show, what would you give our fine show?
Oh man, this was great. You're fantastic. You're really you have a great passion and a real understanding of the culture and the media.
Thank you.
And I'm really flattered how much you know about our stuff. You're a great host, man. Keep it up.
I just like melted on the inside. What would you give it as a score? Come on.
I'd give it a 9 out of 10.
9! I'll take it!
Some technical hurdles at the
beginning. It's one of those things.
Of on the internet, man. We have them every fucking week on our show. It's unbelievable. We can get a daily TV show at the door, but getting the sound to sound all right in our streams every week is just insane, man.
Oh man,
crazy.
All right, so you heard it. Victor Lucas gives the One4U show a 9 out of 10. Vic, where can people find you on the internet? Where can they watch EP Daily? Give them all the rundown and all that.
I think the best place, the home base, is EPN.TV, and certainly follow us on Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that. We're posting it everywhere, which is a bit frustrating for me, frankly. I feel like it would be better for us if we had a partner that could just help us tell the story about what we do and just promote it.
If I was a billionaire, I would help you out with that in a heartbeat. Jeez.
But we've got a YouTube channel and a Daily Motion channel. I'm trying to get /EPN to be where we are everywhere.
Okay, like Universal. So right now it's not Universal. So what would they? So just look up EP Daily then on all those platforms then, and they can find you.
Yeah, wherever you want to watch us, you can watch every episode of EP Daily, every segment of EP Daily. And I think one of the things that we're going to do probably on YouTube and Daily Motion is, as our subscribers grow, we will go deeper and deeper into our back catalog and do some fun stuff with previous episodes.
I love the back catalog, and especially because for me, it'll help me catch up on the years I missed not being able to watch you too.
Has anybody seen my Hello Kitty backpack?
Yeah, I know, it sucks, man. I mean, it's a different economy. It's a different way to get this stuff out there. But one of the beautiful things is that the archival sort of opportunities that exist now with these online services is pretty remarkable. And I definitely want to do something, not just with what we've shot and cut, but what we've shot and haven't cut, and all the extra B-roll and extra stuff that we have, and the footage that was sent to us from companies that we may be one of the only groups in the world that has some of this asset, So I believe we probably have the largest video asset in the world.
Easily. You guys have to have. I wouldn't doubt that one bit whatsoever. And then just your Twitter, your personal Twitter, in case people want to follow you, or any other social media you got.
Oh, yeah, please do. Victor_Lucas is where you can find me on Twitter.
All right, cool. Thank you once again, sir. You've been absolutely wonderful and gracious, and I can't believe we made this happen. And thanks again, 100%. You're awesome. And
thank you so much. You rock.
Well, thank you once again, Mr. Lucas, for your time. Follow Victor Lucas on Twitter. Support their show. Keep subscribing to our show. And as always, this has been another episode that has been One4U. Hey guys, hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you did, feel free to follow me on Twitter at @the_Adnan, as well as like the One4U Facebook page. Also, like, comment, and subscribe. Really helps us out if you do. And if you did like this episode, you can check out our last episode over here. Or you can check out the episode before that over here. Thanks, guys.
gotta get something to eat. I'm freaking starving.
Go home. All right? Go. Actually, you are at home. Go out.
Go out.
Go out. You're already at home, so you don't need to go home. Get out. Get outside.
God, what a camera hog.
Yeah.